Hello, hello. Just going to wait for a few more people to get in as usual. When you come in, say hello, good evening. Let me know how your Monday is going. We're back for another Monday. It is October the 2nd. The second Monday in October. We are here. I'm drinking a cereal milkshake. It's pretty good. Okay. We'll start in about one more minute. Okay. When you come in, if you are a first-generation college student, put it in the chat below. If you are a first generation, meaning your mom, nor your dad, nor your caregiver went to college. You are the first one in your family to go to college. Put it in the chat. Okay, so let's just get it started and we'll greet people as they come in. So it is part 3. Oh, excuse me, that milkshake. It is part 3 of I Survived. Tonight we're going to be talking about how I survived college as a first generation student and how I started my freshman year, ended my freshman year, my first year of college with a 1.9 GPA, and I ended up graduating with my master's last May with a 3.6. So yes, that's what we're talking about tonight. Again, this is part 3 of a series that I have been doing for the past 3 weeks, and I've just been sharing my different aspects of my story to hopefully be relatable to you all, let you all get to know a little bit more about me, and hopefully some of the things that I've gone through can help you not to go through the same things in your life. So the first week we talked about how I survived my suicide attempt. 12 years ago, I had a suicide attempt when I was 17 years old. And luckily, God said that it did not go through. I am alive and healthy. So you can hear about my story with that on my Instagram page in the series section of like the Reels little video thing. The second week, I talked about how I survived heartbreak. And I told y'all the story of how I dealt with 2 guys that gave me huge heartbreak. One ended up having multiple girls pregnant and baby, all this stuff while we were in a situationship. And the other one, unfortunately, was emotionally abusive and very, controlling of all those things. I shared with you how I survived those experiences, to how I changed my mindset and how I changed my behaviors when it came to men, to get to a place where I survived heartbreak. I moved on, I moved forward, and I was able to attract a husband. So those were the first 2 weeks of I Survived. This is the 3rd week of I Survived. And we're going to be talking about just my higher education journey, because I feel like it can be relatable to people who maybe are wanting to go to college, or who've had trouble in school, or want to continue on with that, but just may struggle. So yeah, my pre-college K through 12 secondary school journey was pretty good for the most part. Most of my life, I made all A's, I made merit roll, honor roll, all those things. And then my senior year of high school, I ended up getting into just really bad headspace. That was the year that I had my suicide attempt as well. Turns out I was depressed. And so I wasn't going to class. I, wasn't doing homework, all those things, to the point where I had done so well all through school to my senior year. I passed my OGTs, but I was threatened to not be able to graduate because my grades were so bad. I was getting Fs for the first time ever. Got kicked out of a program. Just a lot of different things. So by the grace of God, another testimony, I was able to graduate on time from high school. And so, yeah, I was able to graduate on time from high school. I even got into a few colleges. I got into Cleveland State. I got into Kent State. I got into Toledo, all the local schools, Ohio University, and yeah. So my options were pretty much Ohio University, Kent, or Cleveland State. And I chose to go to Ohio University, even though my mom just reminded me of this. Cleveland State actually offered me almost a full ride. But I wanted to go away from home. I wanted to get away from home. I wanted to get away from home, pretty much. So I went to Ohio University. If you heard my story last week, you know that I said I was 17 years old when I went to college. Very naive, a very young 17. I had never even worked a day in my life. Really not a steady, like, regular job. I had, like, summer jobs, but I had never had a full-time job or part-time job. Just very naive. And so went to Ohio University. I told you I started messing with a guy, got into all those sorts of troubles that I shared last week. But all the while I was having those troubles in that relationship, I was not going to class. I was not doing my homework. I just was being very, very irresponsible. And so my grades suffered. So back then when we were in college, we had these things called quarters. So your year was divided up into 4 quarters instead of 2 semesters. So I had the first semester, I did okay. No. I think the first semester I did bad, and then I was on academic probation for the fall quarter, and then when I came back, I don't know, I can't remember, but basically I ended up on academic probation. I had the next semester or next quarter to get it together, and by the next quarter I did not have it together. So your girl got academically dismissed from Ohio University my freshman year. Crazy, right? So I had a couple options. My first option was to just not go back because I couldn't get any financial aid from there if my grades weren't good. So my first option was to not go back, was to go home, go to a different school, or go to a different campus location, or appeal that decision. So my family and I, we decided to appeal the decision, and we decided to appeal the decision of me getting academically dismissed to get back into school and get my financial aid. So what happened was I sent in the appeal letter. Basically what it was, I got approved and I was able to go back to OU, but I think I didn't get enough financial aid to go, and I'll have to pay. Well, I didn't get enough financial aid, so I'll have to pay out of pocket. And it was a lot of money, and so my mom was like, you just need to come home and start over. So I was like, you know what? I'm leaving my life behind and going back home. If you've ever been in college, you know that going back home, like, if you ever have to be faced with a decision to go back home, you're like, I do not want to go back home. Like, I don't want to go back to my hometown. Like, I just don't want to do that. And so I was faced with that decision, and each time that I've been faced with this decision, I've decided to go back home, and it's been great for me. So I decided to go back home and start over. When I left OU, I had like a 1.9 GPA, barely 2.0. Barely 2.0. I don't even think I could have gotten into Cleveland State with that GPA that I had. So I had to come back home, leave my friends, the life I was building, all those things. All of my other high school friends had gone away to college, so no one was really here with me besides my younger sister, and that was it. So I came back home. So one thing that I want to know about being a first-generation college student is that you're first generation. Like, your parents never went to college, you may have aunts or uncles, they may have never went to college. So when you're first gen, you're like figuring out a lot of things for the first time. You're figuring out how to have a schedule, on your own, how to navigate classes, how to buy things. Like, you're just navigating so many things that you may not have ever heard about because you may not have known anybody that went to college. I had my older sister who went to college. She was also first gen, so she was figuring it out for the first time too. But I had the luxury of seeing her example when she went to college. I didn't follow it, but I should have. But she was the only other person, that I knew that had gone to college. So, yeah, older. So there's just so many things you're figuring out for the first time, and figuring out like how to just like make your own life. So I came back home to start over pretty much because my GPA was so low. I needed to get it up, and so I had to start back at Tri-C, which is a community college here. And you know, community colleges get all this stigma, but it actually is a great way to save money and get your credit hours out the way without having to pay a bunch of money at a state school or at a local school for your institution. So yeah, started back at Tri-C for about a year, got all my Gen Eds together. That was loud. I got all my Gen Eds together, got all of my requirements together, and you know, just kind of like put my head down and just started going. I even came back and worked at McDonald's, y'all. Like, I worked at McDonald's. I was so humbled. You know, God humbled me so much with that experience. Me having to come back home, go to community college, and my first job back, which was my first real job. Well, second, I got a little job at school for like a month. But my first real consistent job was at McDonald's. But let me tell you how happy I was. I actually liked my job at McDonald's. I was a cashier. I always wanted to be a cashier. When I was little, I had the cashier toys. I loved being a cashier. So I was a cashier at McDonald's. I took the orders and put it in, and it was actually so much fun. The only thing I kind of wanted to try the grill, but then I was like, no. But they never put me on the grill, and I didn't like cleaning. So I would hate when, I'm glad I never had to like clean a toilet or anything. But I loved it. The staff was ratchet, you know, whatever. But I actually liked my job at McDonald's. I actually really loved the morning shifts. So I would be there like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, my mom would be taking me to work 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, it was a fun environment. The people were actually pretty nice. You know, some would get a little crazy, but I actually loved that job. So I was all the way humbled. I was coming back home. I didn't have a car. Didn't even have my license. So I was riding the bus. I would ride the bus in the morning to Tri-C and then go to McDonald's, or I would go to class and then go to work at McDonald's. I would have to walk across a super long bridge. If you ever are on Chagrin up by Woodmere, that bridge that goes over the highway, I had to walk over that bridge a few times because the bus let you off here and there was no connecting bus down Chagrin that came in enough time. So I have to walk all the way down Chagrin to McDonald's. It was just such a humbling experience. And I worked there for like 6 months maybe. And then I got a job at a hotel being a front desk clerk. And I love that job too, but God really had to humble me and really make me focus and get back on track. So I ended up doing good at Tri-C. And so I was able to transfer into Cleveland State to finish out my last like 2 years. And that was really where I was motivated. By then I was working full time. I was working full time, going to school full time, kind of having like a social life, and I was able to buy me a car, get my license finally at 19, get a car, all that stuff. So I was feeling pretty good. And I did well at Cleveland State. You know, it was different from OU for sure. But, you know, I made it through, and I ended up getting on the dean's list my last or second to last semester there. So I had started at Tri-C 3 years prior. Yeah, 3 years prior with a 1.6 GPA coming out of Ohio University. And by my senior year, I was on the dean's list with like a 3.5 GPA or something like that. No, maybe like 3.1 to 3.3 or something like that. But getting recognized for my merit again, like I used to back when I was in like elementary school. So I was very, very proud of myself. During that year, I also went through that emotionally abusive relationship, which threatened to take me off my game and push me back from graduating. But I ended up graduating a semester after my peers, because I was like nervous I wasn't going to graduate with my friends. But I graduated a semester after them. So we all ended up still graduating in 2015. So I was very proud of myself for graduating, because not only am I a first generation college student, I'm statistically projected to not finish high school, not think about getting a bachelor's degree, and now I have my master's degree with a job on all these things. Statistically, me being a adopted child, me having experienced abuse, me having a drug addicted relative, I'm not even statistically projected to make it out of high school, make it out to have a bachelor's degree and move on and be able to survive and compete in the world. You know, so when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I was just so happy. I was just so excited. I was so proud of myself. I was proud of finishing something that I, paved my own way for. When I graduated and got a full-time job right after that, where I worked for my church for 5 years. And so I was just very proud of myself. Not a lot of children who are adopted and, experience abuse and have parents that have issues and all of these things. Even your morale, even if you do survive that and you do graduate high school, your morale and what you think about yourself and what you think you're capable of is so low, because it seems like nobody cared enough for you to protect you from bad things from happening. Or you think, all these things, bad things have happened to me over my lifetime. Why would something good happen to me? Why could I be the one to make good things happen? And I thank God that my morale was not low, and I was able to really persevere and get my bachelor's degree after, all the things I had gone through. So I knew I always wanted my master's degree when I was in undergrad. I love education. I love the school setting. I just love academia. I just love it. So I knew I always wanted to get my master's. I didn't know what program I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to get my MBA or if I wanted to, get a master's in journalism or anything. So my first year or second year, here we go again, another testimony. I didn't even think about this. My second year, at my job, around the first year of my job, my previous job offered tuition assistance. So you can go to college and get an advanced degree or degree with help of the institution from the organization. And so I was like, I'm going to get my master's degree. And so once again, being in the broken place that I was, looking for acceptance and validation from other people, I chose a school and a program that I knew God really didn't want me at. And so I just chose it because someone else chose it and it looks good. And I just didn't even think for myself. I thought between two, but went with the other one for that reason. And so because it was out of God's timing, I wasn't prepared for that program. I ended up getting a F, a D. Like, the grades were just so bad I couldn't even submit them for tuition assistance from my job, because you had to have a certain grade point average, or you couldn't have it below a C. And so here I am again, out of doing things out of order and being out of order, which resulted in me failing in school for the second time. Well, this actually is the third time. This is the third time, guys, that I have failed in school. And so I ended up having to not even continue the program because my grades were so low and I couldn't even qualify for other things. So I quit the program and put it to the side and said, well, maybe I won't get my master's. That was in 2016. Fast forward to 2020. I had been thinking about what I want to do in life and moving towards teaching being my passion as well as my spiritual gifting. And I was like, I've always wanted to be a professor. I've always wanted to be in the classroom. So I need to go for it. So 2020 provided me the opportunity to go back to school, this time with a program that I picked and that I was passionate about on my own. And that was Kent. I had always wanted to go to Kent State. It was number one or very high up for journalism. Always had number one programs, all those things. And I didn't go during undergrad. And I said, if I had another chance, I would try Kent. So I found an online program. Well, the first program I was in was online, but I changed it. And started school. this time when I started school, I was like, I'm gonna finish. Like, I have no choice. I want to make all A's because I wanted to redeem myself for the mistakes that I had made before when I was in school, not being responsible, not being focused. So that was my goal, and I started on that goal, and I actually made that goal for a couple of semesters. A couple of semesters I was like super tired and super burnt out, and so some semesters got a B or a C, but nothing below a C. I don't even think, maybe not even a C. Maybe one C out of 2 years, maybe. But this time I really felt like it was the right time. Like, I felt focused. I felt mature enough to even handle the responsibility of being in a master's program while being a wife and all those things. I really felt God's blessing on it, and it just was a totally different experience than undergrad and me trying to get my master's the first time. And so it was hard. You know, my final year, I had senioritis the whole entire year. I was ready to be done. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, I had senioritis. I was just ready to be done. And so I was dragging, like, out. I ended up having to motivate my classmates because they were like, we're not going to finish this program we're not going to finish our final project to graduate on time. And I was like, no, we're graduating on time. Like, it's not an option. I'm graduating on time, and if y'all around me, we all gonna graduate on time, because I'm gonna push you to make sure you doing what you need to do. Because I was like, I did not come this far, you know, have all these achievements, bounce back, fail, bounce back and fail, for me to give up right now, you know. So I ended up finishing that program in last May with a 3.6 GPA. So it wasn't the 4.0 that I wanted, but it was a 3.6. It was the highest, I believe. No, I had about 3.8 a couple times, but it was an achievement for me because, again, not only was I not projected to graduate high school, get my bachelor's degree, and then get my master's degree, and I'm the first one in my family, with my immediate family, with my master's degree in my household, you know. So I'm now setting a bar and a standard for my nieces and my nephew and my children to follow after, because I've gone above and beyond what everybody in our family was able to do. And I never thought I would be able to do that. You know, I always doubted myself so much. I never was confident in who I was and who God wanted me to be. And it wasn't until I started my master's program, really started to dig into who I was outside of friends, outside of church, outside of family, outside of my husband's thoughts, outside of my trauma, outside of everything that has tried to project who I am. I had to figure out who I was outside of all things, when I'm stripped down, bare bones, myself and God. Who am I? And God really has shown me and been graceful, so graceful with me over these past, when did I graduate high school? 2011. So 12 years, you know, with my educational journey. I have fallen plenty times, failed plenty times, and I've gotten back up with His strength, not strength of my own, with His strength. And when I think about that, I was just telling a group of women that we have to remember our past. We have to remember and count our past victories, because when we begin to look back on everything that God has done for us, for all of the miracles that He's done, all of the little victories and the little battles He's won on our behalf, we'll have a list long list of things that He's done, for us to never doubt Him again in the future, because we've seen how He's done so much in the past. So anytime I get to tell these stories and tell my testimonies of how I've seen God move in my life, it just propels and strengthens my faith even more, because I know if He did it before, He's going to do it again, because that's just who He is. So I pray that you all, have the same testimony. If it's not with school, if it's with your business, and me getting my master's degree instills so much confidence in me that I feel like I can do anything. Maybe not my doctorate. That's a whole other, situation. So don't ask me about my doctorate, because the answer is no right now. But it really makes me feel unstoppable. Like, what can I not do? Even if I do fail, even if I do get a couple F's or a couple, bad grades along the way, what will be the finished product? And so I'm on this journey of not full-time entrepreneurship, but I do have a candle business, and this blog is a business, and I'm on this new journey of trying to figure out what God wants me to do in all of this, including my Bible study that I am launching next month. 2 weeks from now, October 24th. Everything's flying by, but October 24th at 7 p.m., I will be starting my monthly Bible studies. This summer, I had a 6-week Bible study, and it was great so much that we're going to bring it back this time on a monthly level, on a monthly basis, and you can sign up for that. I'm going to put the link in this description if you're watching a replay. So, yeah, I hope you join me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed my series. I might come back for part 4. I have to think of one more story or situation that I can say that I survived, because this has been so good for me. It's blessed my life, honestly, recounting these stories and just seeing how good God is and how he has been. So I may be back next week for part 4 before our Bible study launches. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you get my post notifications on my Instagram page, and I will see you tomorrow with the new post. Have a good evening.